Debate panic has already set in and is skyrocketing for Donald Trump, his MAGA stooges, and especially the hosts at the Fox Propaganda Network, one of which has completely lost it in fear out of panic of how poorly Donald Trump will do in this debate and the collapse of his campaign that is happening around him. Judge Jeanine Piro really just lost control in one of the craziest displays I've seen from her, and we consistently tune in to the 5 to see how Jessica Tarlov triggers her co-hosts into meltdowns. But when I say this was the worst I have ever seen, I am telling y'all the truth. Just absolutely out of control, so upset. And it was a slow start to the show, but it really ramped up fast as Jessica started to call out Donald Trump in the most brutal way. But first, before we get to that, I want to quickly show you a clip of her talking about a very important element of tonight's debate that I think adds a good bit of context to the rest of the show.
Jessie said that the more the American people see Kamala Harris, the more they dislike her. And that's just not true. So her favorability has gone up. Donald Trump's remains in the toilet, and J.D. Vance's has already been flushed.
46%.
No. Have you
According
looked
to the New York Times poll, it's at 46%.
No. Have you looked at it compared to Kamala with undecided voters?
Let's
not. Okay. Well, I totally agree with the fact that this is a huge night for her. So it's big risk, but also big reward if it works out. And in the CNN poll, 48% of undecided voters said that they wanted to know more about her. It was only 18% of people who wanted to know that about Donald Trump. And I would rather be the person that has a ceiling that I can keep going up towards that ceiling. Donald Trump is most likely maxed out. And this is the way that it's always been. He hits a ceiling. Joe Biden got ahead of him. Hopefully Kamala Harris will get ahead of him and win the presidency in 2024. So she does have this room to make a good impression on people.
Voters want to hear more from Kamala Harris. They are excited about her campaign. They are excited about the momentum behind her, and they want to learn more. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, we know who he is. We had the 4 years of his presidency that were an absolute disaster. We had his 2016 campaign, which was an absolute disgrace. And we have had his disgusting third run for the presidency to remember all the reasons we don't like Donald Trump. And so tonight will be one of two things. It'll be a sane performance from Donald Trump. That's not happening. Or it will be an unhinged mess in which he reminds the country why we voted him out in the first place and his numbers tank. Jessica said it. He does not have room to go up while Kamala Harris can introduce herself and her vision for the future to this country. And that is why the Fox hosts are so paranoid, because they know what the outcome of this debate will be. It'll be an unraveling, unhinged Trump that scares off and puts off more voters as his campaign continues to collapse. And that's why we see outburst from Judge Jeanine triggered by Jessica Tarlov, like this one right here.
Go on his site and you look at his he denies everything, Judge. We've talked about this. He says, seal the border and stop migrant invasion. No detail, no drop down. How are you going to do that? This might be my favorite. Unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. Well, that sounds nice. What does that mean? We know he doesn't have a plan for lowering inflation except to ask all the heads of the agencies to come together and do it. He thinks tariffs pay for childcare. He thinks tariffs pay for everything. So when you're going to ding her repeatedly for being unserious and lacking in detail, take a look at their actual platforms and see who the person who has detail is and who the person is that is completely lacking in specificity and seriousness.
I think that...
So Jessica Tarlov there responding to Judge Jeanine's assertion that it is Kamala Harris who is the one without detail or substance in her policy. And it's not that Donald Trump can't give a straight, real answer or really develop a complex thought about what his agenda in a second term would look like besides Project 2025, which he is running away from. So not only does he not have an agenda because he's unable to articulate what it might be, he actually does have an agenda, but it is so bad, so unpopular, and so deeply destructive that he has to run away from it. And so that comment, that brutal smackdown of Donald Trump by Jessica Tarlov of Judge Jeanine's point is really what got her ramped up. And this just became a shouting match as Judge Jeanine completely lost her mind right here.
Or J.D. Vance and this Haitian immigrant story. that he's promoting this complete false lie that Haitian legal migrants
hate them
are
personally.
eating. What?
And the Democrats hate Republicans. As soon as he got elected, Republicans were unfriended by all the Democrats. They wouldn't speak to us anymore. The Democrats are the party of hate. The Democrats are the party that said he's a Putin asset, he's a Russian puppet. The Democrats are the ones who signed affidavits and lied to a court so that they could spy on a president of the United States. The Democrats are the ones who said that we're destroying democracy. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the most generous people you'll ever meet. He does all kinds of things that people have no idea about. And by the way, if he were selfish, he'd take his money and tell all of us to go F ourselves based upon the way this country has treated him. This guy got shot.
About him
Don't tell me he's selfish.
Absolute.
Is Jeanine trying to assert that Donald Trump actually does care about his supporters? That is the wildest thing that you could possibly say. This is a guy who looks down on his cult. He doesn't like them. He has always talked about that. I remember reporting from January 6th that said as Donald Trump watched his cult pour into the Capitol, he was disappointed because he didn't think that they were that good looking. Like, this is Donald Trump, someone who is actively stealing and robbing blind his following to pay his legal bills while he doesn't care about them. Like, that is who this person is. So what a wild assertion from Jeanine Piro, but her anger continued to boil over as her and Jessica went back and forth right here.
This country has treated him. This guy got shot.
About him
Don't tell me he's selfish.
Are absolute fools.
No, let me tell you something. Donald Trump is the only one who moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He's the only one who got the Abraham Accord.
Why aren't Jews voting for him?
I'm not going to fight with you anymore, Jessica. But I know the man, and the facts rely and belie anything he's saying.
Apparently, I have
just really getting wild and angry over there from Judge Jeanine. Again, I watch a lot, unfortunately, of Fox, of the Five specifically, because I want to bring y'all this news. It's not always a fun watch, but boy, today was that just a lot. And it is that anger, it is that division, it's that rage that Judge Jeanine is trying to levy the accusation that it's Democrats who are responsible for it. Get out of here. Just stop it. You work for Fox. Are you serious? Really? It's just, that is hypocrisy at its finest. But it's something that Tim Walz, I think, has talked about in a great way about how, don't we want to go to Thanksgiving? Don't we want to be out in our community? We want to be with our family and not have to worry about the division that Donald Trump causes? Don't we want to be able to enjoy our lives without just the chaos caused by Trump that is so encapsulated in that outraged outburst from Judge Jeanine? And it's something that Gavin Newsom talks about really well in this clip right here.
What Kamala Harris has done in the last 8 weeks is unprecedented in U.S. history. She's closed the gap. We're not just within a margin of error. We've expanded the map in the United States. You saw new polls this morning. States that were not even in the conversation. Now Donald Trump has to either defend or he has to go out and invest millions and millions of dollars that were never imagined a few weeks ago. So no, I think the momentum is with us. She's the change candidate. There's a fresh air related to her. There's a stale air of normalcy related to Donald Trump. He's about the past. She's about the future. He's about chaos. We're about competency. It's about daylight and darkness. This is the easiest election in my lifetime. I love where we are. In this case, to make the case anew against a guy who's more unhinged, more deranged than he ever has been. He's more derivative, and I mean this. I'm a student of Donald Trump. We all are. We've had to live with him. He's less interesting. I mean, listen to these rambling speeches for hours and hours. His audience is even losing him. People are walking out. He's literally, listen to what he's actually saying and how he's saying it. The monotone nature, his economic speech. How about the answer on child care? And you're talking to me about families in America, and you're talking about cost of living. So I think she has a remarkable opportunity.
What an opportunity we have to not only not go back, but to go forward. Gavin Newsom is spot on, as usual, in saying that Kamala Harris is the change candidate in this race. She is not about the status quo. She is about progressive policies to move us forward, to protect fundamental freedoms, to continue the successes, the historic successes of the Biden-Harris administration. And what is Donald Trump? Not only pushing us back to 4 years ago during his disaster of an administration, but pushing us back 40, 50, 60 years ago with the rights he wants to strip away. What not a disappointing and scary fact of life it is that Donald Trump is the Republican nominee in this race. What a joyous time it is that we can move forward with Kamala Harris. This election doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. Sure, we are standing up to Donald Trump to protect our democracy, but at the same time, we have an incredible opportunity to move forward in an exciting, progressive way with Kamala Harris. And so it's time to bring some joy back. And that is exactly what's going to happen tonight when Kamala Harris mops the floor with Donald Trump. I'm excited to tune into this debate. And if you are as well, we're going to be doing coverage of it all night. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to be the first to be updated when we're covering all of this live. And until next time, I'll see you soon.